It was an ordinary morning at the bustling courthouse. The hallways echoed with hurried footsteps and muffled conversations as lawyers and clients prepared for another long day of hearings. But for Judge Marcus Bailey, the day was about to take an unexpected turn that would leave the entire courthouse shaken. Known for his calm demeanor and unshakable resolve, Judge Bailey had presided over countless cases during his career. Yet, nothing could have prepared him for the eerie encounter he was about to have with two silent, enigmatic twins. The black twins, Lydia and Liam, were brought into the courtroom under unusual circumstances. Their appearance alone was enough to catch everyone's attention. Identical in every sense, the two were dressed in plain black clothing, their expressions unreadable. Their deep, piercing eyes seemed to see through everything and everyone. Whispers rippled through the courtroom as the twins were escorted in by officers. No one could quite figure out why two children, no older than 10, were at the center of such a mysterious case. The prosecutor, defense attorney, and even the court clerk exchanged puzzled looks as the proceedings began. The charges weren't immediately clear, and the documents filed for the case were strangely incomplete. Judge Bailey leaned forward, his brow furrowed, as he studied the paperwork in front of him. Something was off, and the feeling only intensified when the twins refused to answer the routine questions posed to them. "Can you state your names for the record?" the clerk asked, her voice wavering slightly. Lydia and Liam remained silent, their hands tightly clasped together. They didn't flinch, blink, or even glance at the people around them. The atmosphere in the courtroom shifted, the air felt heavy, and an unsettling silence took hold. Judge Bailey cleared his throat, trying to maintain his composure. "Children, I need you to answer the questions being asked. Do you understand?" This tone was firm but gentle, hoping to coax some sort of response. And then, Lydia tilted her head ever so slightly, her eyes locking onto the judge. The room seemed to hold its breath as she leaned toward her brother and whispered something. It was inaudible to everyone else, but Liam's reaction was immediate. He nodded, and together, they turned their gaze toward Judge Bailey. "What did you say?" the judge asked, his voice now edged with curiosity and concern. Lydia and Liam leaned forward in unison, their voices barely above a whisper. And then, in perfect synchronization, they spoke a single word, a word so chilling and unexpected that it sent shivers down the spines of everyone present. Judge Bailey froze, his expression shifting from confusion to alarm. His hand instinctively reached for the gavel, but he didn't strike it. Instead, he stood abruptly. "Court is adjourned," he announced, his voice breaking the oppressive silence. Without offering any explanation, he stepped down from the bench, his face pale and his hands trembling. As murmurs of confusion filled the room, Judge Bailey grabbed his phone and dialed 911. The urgency in his voice was unmistakable as he relayed an unthinkable message to the operator. The courtroom, once bustling with activity, was now a place of mounting tension and unease. The officers guarding the twins exchanged uncertain glances, unsure of what to do next. Who were these children? What had they said to Judge Bailey? And why had it prompted him to take such drastic action? The courtroom fell into a stunned silence once more as Lydia and Liam sat calmly in their seats, their expressions unreadable. Whatever had just happened, it was clear that this was only the beginning of a far more disturbing story. The courtroom buzzed with speculation as Judge Bailey left in a hurry, his phone pressed tightly against his ear. No one could hear what he was saying, but the way his pace quickened with every step hinted at the urgency of the situation. The bailiffs were at a loss, exchanging nervous glances as the twins remained seated, eerily calm amidst the chaos. The attorneys whispered among themselves, trying to piece together what had just happened. What did they say to him? One of them asked, leaning closer to the prosecutor. The man shrugged, his expression blank. No clue. But whatever it was, it rattled him. The twins didn't seem to notice, or perhaps didn't care, that they had become the center of everyone's attention. Lydia, her hands still tightly clasped with Liam's, looked straight ahead, her gaze distant. Liam, on the other hand, seemed to be observing the room, his dark eyes scanning every corner as if taking mental notes. Their synchrony was unnerving. Every slight movement of one was mirrored perfectly by the other. Outside the courtroom, Judge Bailey's voice grew louder. "No, you don't understand," he said into the phone, his tone desperate. "This isn't a matter of protocol. I need someone here immediately." He paused, listening to the operator, and then cut her off. "No, this is not a drill. Send a team now. We might have a major situation on our hands." Back in the courtroom, an older man seated in the gallery leaned toward the person next to him. "I've seen a lot of strange things in my time," he whispered, "but this is something else entirely." The woman beside him nodded, her face pale. "Do you think the kids are in danger?" Or, she trailed off, unsure how to finish the sentence. But the unease in the room wasn't just from the spectators. Even the officers stationed near the twins seemed unnerved. One of them finally broke the silence, approaching the children cautiously. "Hey, kids," he said softly, trying to mask his own discomfort. "Do you need anything? Water? A snack?" Neither Lydia nor Liam responded. They didn't even blink. The officer hesitated, then crouched down to their level. "Listen, whatever's going on, we're here to help. You can talk to us." For the first time, Liam turned his head slowly to look at the officer. His expression was blank, but his eyes seemed to hold something far older than his years. The officer froze, the words dying in his throat. Liam didn't speak, but the intensity of his gaze was enough to send the man stumbling back to his feet. Meanwhile, Judge Bailey re-entered the room, his face still pale, but his expression now set with determination. He walked directly to the bailiffs. "Secure the courtroom," he instructed. "No one comes in or out until further notice." The lead bailiff hesitated. "Your Honor, with all due respect, we need to understand wets." "Do as I say," Bailey snapped, his voice echoing through the chamber. The abruptness of his command left no room for argument. The bailiffs nodded, quickly moving to lock the doors. The murmurs in the gallery grew louder, people exchanging frantic guesses about what was happening. "Is it a security threat?" One person whispered, "Terrorists?" Another suggested, though the idea seemed far-fetched. Judge Bailey returned to his bench but didn't sit. Instead, he stood there, looking down at the twins with a mixture of fear and curiosity. "I need everyone in this room to remain calm," he said, though his voice betrayed his own unease. "This is an extraordinary situation, and we are handling it accordingly." The crowd's murmurs didn't stop, but no one dared to leave their seat. All eyes were on the twins now, their stillness more unnerving than any outburst could have been. Finally, the prosecutor couldn't contain himself any longer. "Your Honor," he said, rising from his seat, "with all due respect, the court has a right to know what's going on here. What exactly did these children say to you?" Judge Bailey hesitated, his fingers gripping the edge of the bench. He glanced at the twins, as if seeking their permission to speak, but they gave no sign, no reaction. "It's classified," he said at last, his voice firm. "Classified," the defense attorney repeated, his brow furrowing. "Since when does a family court case involve classified information?" "This isn't about the case anymore," Bailey replied, his tone leaving no room for further questions. "And until further notice, this courtroom is under lockdown." The room erupted into a cacophony of voices, people demanding answers, but Bailey raised his hand for silence. "Enough," he barked. "I said remain calm." At that moment, a distant sound broke through the tension, the wail of sirens, growing louder with each passing second. The courtroom fell silent again, the sound adding another layer of anxiety. Whatever was happening, it was now clear that this was no ordinary legal proceeding. Outside, the sirens came to an abrupt stop, replaced by the sound of hurried footsteps and muffled voices. Moments later, the doors to the courtroom opened, and a group of men and women in suits entered, their faces grim. They moved with purpose, their eyes scanning the room before locking onto the twins. The lead agent, a tall man with a steely expression, approached Judge Bailey. "Your Honor," he said quietly, though his voice carried authority. "We'll take it from here." Bailey hesitated. "Do you have clearance for this?" The agent held up a badge. "We have clearance for everything." The judge stepped back, though it was clear he wasn't happy about relinquishing control. The agents surrounded the twins, speaking to them in low voices, but the children remained unresponsive. Are we under some sort of threat? One of the spectators finally dared to ask, his voice trembling. The agent didn't answer, instead signaling his team to proceed. Two of them gently lifted Lydia and Liam from their seats, their movements careful but deliberate. The twins didn't resist, their expressions as blank as ever.